New D&D book reviews, old language with Inclusivity Consultants. So this is the big $100 early history of D&D with the complete reprint of the first books plus the original drafts and stuff that they could get their hands on that the other people who are doing history stuff couldn't, like, the Blackmore people or Troll Games or whatever. And they've been talking about this for a while. It's $100. It's geared towards the nostalgia collectors, the people who have $100 to spend on a book that basically shows you 1970 through 1980-ish history of the game. And when they were first talking about the game, they did inform us that they were going to be showing the product to Inclusivity Consultants. In fact, one of these Inclusivity Consultants, Jason Tundro, who said he is embarrassed to be associated with the history of the game. Now, just in case you've forgotten who some of these Inclusivity Consultants that they consult with are, they're such luminaries of the literary world like Connie Chang, a Inclusivity consultant who has repeatedly told people how much she hates Wizards of the Coast, hates the history of D&D, hates the colonialism of D&D, hates the fact that D&D is all about just white men and women have never, ever been able to play D&D, will gladly take money from Wizards of the Coast to shill D&D Beyond and attend conferences, while at the exact same time pooping all over the Wizards of the Coast product. That's one of your Inclusivity consultants. Then we got Kyle Brink, our boy Kyle Brink, who said white people cannot leave the hobby fast enough. We got Kyle Brink, another genius consultant who has nothing but goods to say about the history of the game. Daniel Kwan, there's another one who's consulted, who's all about inclusivity and sensitivity, who's repeatedly again said, I will happily take Wizards of the Coast money, while also telling you how horrible. In fact, every one of these individuals who have gone through this product word by word to address all the inappropriate commentary in it, have said on more than one occasion how much they hate D&D, how much they hate the history of D&D, how much they hate the colonialism of D&D, how much they hate the fact that they were never allowed to play D&D, which is an out-and-out lie, and how much they, want to change D&D. And when, the other guy, who's writing this? Jason Tundro has a lot to do with it, but the guy who's writing it apparently has some street cred, the original writer guy. Enough so that even Tenker has said in his video about this that he would buy it because he knows that guy has done good stuff in the past. So he's already pre-ordered it despite knowing that it's been going through the editorial sieve. So he's got that level of respect for the guy who wrote this. On Jason Tundra, on the other hand, we don't have a lot of respect for, because he identifies language that we would not use today in gaming. Now, I don't remember the white box stuff very clearly, so I'm not sure what it is about the white box stuff that is so offensive. They still have been unable to actually provide us any proof to the false narrative of, the only people who have ever played D&D before 2014 were a bunch of white men in the Midwest. Wizards of the Coast would have you believe I wasn't allowed to play D&D. Wizard would have you Coast to believe that you weren't allowed to play D&D before 2014. If you're a girl, you weren't playing D&D before 2014. If you're disabled, you weren't playing D&D before 2014. If you're LGBTQT, oh God, no. You were not playing D&D before 2014. Because apparently before 2014, according to the false narrative, the only people playing D&D were a bunch of white guys in the Midwest. Now, we know that's not true. I would say 90% of you are not white guys from the Midwest. And that's just off the top of my head. Plus, we know that Dungeons & Dragons has been played all over the world for 50 years. and in space by millions of people. In fact, remember former CEO Cynthia Williams wanted us to know that there was anywhere from 50 to 100 million people playing D&D across the world at any given time, despite the fact that we crashed D&D Beyond last year. She wanted us to be sure that D&D was fine. And that what happened last year would not affect D&D's bottom line whatsoever. Notice Cynthia Williams isn't with the company anymore. But yeah, so that's 100 million people on an average day who are playing D&D across the world. All of them are old white folk from the Midwest. And apparently the old book was so offensive that it needed to be gone through word by word by a panel of inclusivity consultants. But don't worry, they're still presenting the stuff in the format, the historical format that it was presented, because they knew if they tried to change it, they would, people would come after them. Hello, Pasta Lover. Welcome to the channel. Hopefully you've liked, shared, and subscribed. Hello, I wanted the book, but I feel it's going to be historically edited, so no point in getting it. Look, if you want the original white box stuff, there are multiple PDF versions of it available. Multiple people have reprinted it. There's multiple retro clones, including our good friends, the Basic Experts white box clone. So if you just want the mechanics of, the 3 books in chainmail, that's not a problem. You can get those. You can get those tons of different places as they appeared in the original book. If you want to get the original books, they sell on average from 700 to 1,000 on eBay. I just looked them up. But really, you could just, if you're just interested in the original Osric as written first 4 books, they're out there. So the only reason to get this would be to see the history and see the stuff we haven't seen yet, to really understand the steps that led to the first creation of what we know as Dungeons and Dragons. But if you're editing it, it's not historically accurate. And they know that if they changed it, people would come after them. So instead, they're reprinting it as they, have the product available to them. There's just a running commentary about how inappropriate this stuff is. Where does it say here? We do address this stuff directly. Example, there's a parenthetical comment that's a dig at women's lib, a feminist movement that push for equality for women. We hired Inclusivity Consultants because we wanted to know we were in for and we wanted to call it out. So we couldn't change it because history, so we included the material while calling out and placing it in historical content. So we're calling out the fact. Now, the only thing I can think of is the fact that in some races had stat bonuses and stat limitations. And I think female women couldn't have a highest strength as human male characters in the game, or couldn't be as high as level or something like that. I don't really remember. Now, saying that in 1973, a dwarf could not be as agile as a 1973 human, well, that's racist, because we know in 1973, the dwarves came down from the Misty Mountains and colonized most of the eastern seaboard. In fact, there's a huge population of dwarvish miner and craftsmen in Virginia, right? Dwarves aren't real. Little folk, like whatever you want to call them, the people who have the genetic, dwarfism, they exist. And some of those guys could kick your ass. Also, I think the thing, maybe they're like, well, elves can't be as strong as humans, or, as smart as humans, or whatever. So that's racist, right? That's racist, because we know that in the 1970s, there was a huge population of elves living in the Pacific Northwest. In fact, most of Eugene, Oregon is still to this day populated by the elves of Mirkwood. Oh, wait, elves aren't real. So how is that being not inclusive? Oh, we've offended the orc population. There are no orcs. They're not real. You're not offending anyone. So then it's, oh, well, it wasn't feminist because human female characters couldn't get as high as level. Was that it? Was it or was their strength couldn't be as high? Was that it? Is that the thing? That's got to be the thing, right? That's it, because, you know, I seem to remember that was a thing. 1972, females could not be as strong or as men, and that's what they're saying is inclusive, not inclusive. In 1972, a woman couldn't be as strong as a man, and because that is what we're holding the microscope to, we have to go through the entire manuscript of everything Gary and Dave wrote, and with a microscope to find every single word that might offend someone, and then call it out. Because nothing says historically accurate or anthropologically accurate like telling people how awful the people that you're reading about are. Look, we know the Romans did awful shit. We know the Greeks did awful shit. We know Germany did awful shit. And it's the point of history to not only tell you about the awful shit, but tell you everything that happened. For every horrible thing the Romans did, they did some pretty awesome stuff too. I'm not here to judge what they did. I'm just here to tell you what the Romans did. They built roads. Yeah. They had slaves. Woo. They built roads. Yeah. My job as a D&D historian is to tell you everything that happened from 1970 to 1980, based upon whatever facts I have available to me. If the facts change upon more research, it's my job to tell you that we found more facts. We dug up a fossil that proves that, you know, there were more dinosaurs than we thought there were. They just discovered a new mammal species the day before yesterday. It was 64 million year old, never seen before. They have to rethink the history of mammals now because of the discovery of this new species. Happens all the time. Same thing for D&D history. Maybe while going through somebody's, you know, storage bin, they find something that goes, oh, wait, this contradicts. My job as a D&D historian is to tell you from point A to point B, blah. My job as a D&D anthropologist, same thing. My job is not to give you my opinion. My job is not to tell you, by the way, these guys suck. That Gary Gygax guy, he kissed zombies. He ate babies. He stepped on baby chicks. He you know, ripped the tags off of mattresses. Remember when ripping the tags off mattresses was illegal? I think it still is. What department actually, you know, would justify that? Who comes to your door when they find out you ripped? Anyways, mattress police, hands against the wall. So, yeah, I don't know what I can say about this, that Tanker hasn't said better, and everybody and their dog won't say better. We know Jim's going to do a video about this, and he'll be better at it. We know Double D will do a video about this, and he'll be better, probably better at it than I am. We know, I'm sure there are people who say this is a good thing. I mean, you know, I'm sure the shills like Garrity and Jeannie D and Mackenzie will say, wow, this is great. We really need to address the horrible history of this game that doesn't exist. Wizards wants to continue to force this false narrative on us of this history that never happened. Now, I never met Gygax. I don't know what he was like in real life. I know people who met him, and they've said, you know, like everybody else, he had some good qualities and he had some bad qualities. He did some great stuff. He did some horrible stuff. He made really, really good choices. He made really, really bad choices. He was just a dude. Gygax pooped like everybody else. Arneson pooped like everybody else. But there are still people alive who were there, and they're complaining about this, right? I don't know what the Gygax siblings have to say about this. You know, it depends upon their current relationship with Wizards of the Coast they get. I can't imagine Ernie has anything nice to say about this. Lord knows what Luke's going to say. I think there's still a daughter, right? You know. So I don't know. So is there something that somebody might have find offensive in the original manuscript? Maybe. There's something to find offensive in everything, depending upon how you perceive it. Right? Somebody might be offended by the fact there's a cat toy on my floor. I don't know. That's just perception. If you go through this and find something offensive to you, That's perception. And you can go, hey, that offends me, whatever. That's not Wizards of the Coast's job. That's not the job of the historian who is presenting you these historical facts to also go, by the way, that's awful. And I am embarrassed. I am embarrassed to be a part of this project. Guy said that. The guy and the other guy said, I wonder how much money they had to offer him for him to say, oh, D&D that would never pass our inclusivity, and guys like Todd Kendrick and Crawford and McKenzie, they would never allow language like this to be in D&D today. They're okay with the cover for the DM's guide that shows a demon eating a baby. But the fact that this might, in some bizarre way, insinuate something that could be perceived as possibly racist or sexist, yeah, we need to change that. We need to eventually. Oh, look, see, I mentioned there's a cat toy on my floor and this guy's upset. I don't have a dog. Otherwise, there'd be dog toys on the floor. Buy me a dog, Pastel Lover. Look, guys, it's up to you. If you want to buy this because you're interested in seeing all these texts and all this stuff, it's your money. You're old enough to know whether you feel insulted by this or not. If you want to not buy it because you can get the actual rules and the actual stuff cheaper, that's an option too. If you feel that something about 1970 D&D offends you in the year 2024, I can't change your mind. I mean, scientifically, it's been disproven multiple times. By the way, just a reminder, orcs aren't real, elves aren't real, dwarves aren't real, magic isn't real, dragons aren't real, elves aren't real, the Greek gods, probably not real, barbarians, rangers, paladins, magic users, clerics, all not real. Yeah, but okay, if you're offended by this book, I can't tell you not to be offended. What I can say again, as a armchair anthropologist, that's not your job, Wizards of the Coast. It's not your job to tell me how offensive it is. This is not an editorial. This is not a pop culture piece. This is you presenting the history of Dungeons and Dragons based upon all the documents that you have available to you, dating back to when you first acquired them and all the research this guy has done for $100. Or you could watch our good friend Griff's video, Secrets of Blackmoor, on YouTube for $3. Or you could just watch Secrets of Blackmoor on Amazon for $3 and get a much more accurate history of the origins of the game without it being forced through the brains of people like Connie Chang or Mackenzie DeArms. I'm the first chronically autistic person to ever play D&D. No, you're not. Asian people were not represented. When you guys wrote that Oriental Adventures, you didn't consult a single Asian person. Yes, they did. Girls were not allowed to play D&D before 2014. Yes, they were. Hello, Joe Fisher. Welcome to the page. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Something about the book. Some of the characters from the cartoon. High school, huh? Well, it wouldn't have been anybody associated with the show, but I'm sure there's a lot of fan-made stuff that came around like that. There's never been an official about the kids for the show. They show up and stuff, right? We know they showed up in Stormwick Island, yes or no? And we know they're definitely showing up in the Dungeon Master's Guide, at least in the art. I don't know if we'll have stats on them or an adventures based upon them or any actual information on them. But no, we know that's not true, Joe. We know girls did not play D&D before 2014 because we know D&D is sexist. And we know that of the millions of people that were playing D&D in 2013, all across the planet and in space, not a single one of them was female, because girls didn't play D&D into 2014. That is the truth that Wizards of the Coast wants you to believe. That is what Wizards of the Coast is trying to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and children of all ages, that until 2014, D&D was not inclusive. And D&D of 2013 to 2000 till 1970 was offensive. And you weren't allowed to play D&D unless you were a bunch of white guys who lived in the Midwest. And those white guys can't leave the hobby fast enough. And the exact same people who believe that, who believe they weren't allowed to play D&D, who believe that white guys can't leave the hobby fast enough, are the same people who are going through this and going, this needs to be changed because it's offensive. Now, I can't tell you how to spend your money, ladies and gentlemen, and I've already wasted 21 minutes on this topic, but it's going to be the biggest topic we talk about during next week, I think. If you want to buy this, buy this. If you just want to get the original product, you know, the original 3 books plus chainmail, you can get that without buying this. Those are available. If you want a complete history of D&D, I highly recommend you go to Amazon, spend $3, and watch The Secrets of Blackmoor. In high school, I got to play 3 games in school because of half days, and there were 6 of us playing it, and I was the only white person. Well, we know that's a lie, Joe. We know that's a lie because white people weren't playing D&D. People of color weren't playing D&D until 2014. Connie Chang never played D&D before 2014. Mackenzie never played D&D before 2014. Of course, we know that's true, actually, because Mackenzie's only been playing D&D for 4 years. Jeannie D, nope, never played. Anyways, my fine folks, it's Friday, and I've wasted enough time of yours talking about this. So let's just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Please have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Hopefully the sun will come out. Till next time, I have been your grumpy guide to all things gaming. That's the OGGGM. If you appreciate this content, let me know. If you never want to hear me talk about Wizards of the Coast ever again, well, if you recall, all you have to do is subscribe and help me hit 2,000 subs by August 4th, and I will go an entire month without talking about Wizards of the Coast. If I hit 2,000 subs by August 4th, I will not talk about Wizards of the Coast till September 4th. Till next time, get off my land.